Hello, it's Rigers. In today's video, I will do the deeper analysis of my PvP build for Battleground with theory and with some examples from real fight, and then with conclusion why it works for me and maybe why it not works for some of you. First of all, I would like to thank you for your feedback from your comments in my last video, especially for the constructive criticism, because this is the best way how we can improve our Crusader performance. I will show you two comments, the first one with negative experience and the second one with positive experience. And at the end of this video, I will show you the third comment, which perfectly describes why this build doesn't work for some of you. So let's look on the first comment. My resonance is around 2400 to 3000 in Battleground. I tried this build and I am sorry that it doesn't work against players with the same resonance and secondary attributes. It does not provide immune to CC and many times I cannot even walk out of the base. Now every game had to fight against Wizards and Tempest. This build just not powerful enough to counter them, so I had to switch to the old Condemn build. It increased my win rate by over 6%. So first of all, I am glad that you discovered the build which works for you. This is the most important thing. And in a few moments, I will try to analyze what maybe caused the problems to you with this build. And here is the second comment. I am at 2,800 resonance and I have tried the build because I had trouble winning games with the last meta build. I ran it for 2 days and I am on something around 18.4, which is nice. Rank 5 on my server with 55% win rate, and yes, matchmaking is a big factor, but still I feel stronger with more impact in case of kills and sustainability in fights. Also having more impact on both sides through the high mobility. And this is exactly how this build should work. Let's start with our analysis with legendary games, because I didn't talk about them much, but they are an important part of our build, and I will be talking only about the most important legendary games. So it's Starfire Shard, Maw of the Deep, Bloodsoul Jade, and surprisingly Phoenix Ashes. The backbone here is the Starfire Shard, and the reason is that Starfire Shard deals a lot of damage, and on top of that it knockbacks enemies, which is perfect combination with Maw of the Deep, because Maw of the Deep has 2 seconds delay and it's knocking the enemies in the airborne. So Starfire Shard knocks the enemies and it gives enough time to proc the Maw of the Deeps. About Bloodsoul Jade, there's the most important is the movement speed increased, and Phoenix Ashes, it increased my survivability and it saved my life so many times. And now let's look how Starfire Shard works in practice. In this slow motion clip I am fighting against Necromancer Ilias, who is 8000 resonance with secondaries over 5000, and look at it. When my Light Striders hit him, Starfire Shard immediately procced and took out around 80,000 HP from Ilias and knocking him back, which is a huge hit. Then he is getting a lot of another damage and Maw of the Deep procced, but I'm not sure here if Maw of the Deep actually hit him or not. But as you could see, the damage from the Starfire Shard is so high and did a lot of work here. So Starfire Shard is a really great game. Now let's look on my legendary gear, I mean legendary affixes, because for PvP most important affixes are these. Damage taken from players reduced by 1.5%, or you can have that damage to players is increased by 1 or 2%, because these are not affected by the stride debuff by 66%. These has full power, so it's very important to stack these magic affixes for your PvP, because it can make a huge difference. You can stack like 6-7% damage reduction or damage versus players increased. So it's very important. And now I want to show you specifically one my legendary gear, my pants, because this is the new kind of a gear with these magic affixes, and I am using this for PvP. For PvE I am using, give me a moment, here this pants. As you can see, the comparison, this pants has better combat rating a little bit and has these affixes, but I am not using this for PvP. For PvP I am using these pants, and the reason is, let's look on the magic. Evasion rating is increased by 0.6% for every nearby enemy, up to a maximum of 6%. Evasion, let's look what does it mean. Here we have evasion rating, so compared against enemy accuracy rating, increasing the chance you will avoid enemy attacks. So in reality it should work like enemy will be missing some hits on you. How it works, in fact, I am not sure, because it's hard to tell, but we will believe that it works. And now let's look on the more important magic affixes. Here is the second. Gain a shield equal to 15% of your maximum life for 5 seconds when falling below 10% life. Cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds. This is very good magic effects because it's increase your survivability. 15% of your life in my case is not low amount, and every 30 seconds is quite often, so it helps me to survive some enemy attacks when I am low with HP. And the most important probably and most interesting is the third magic effects, and its shields also grant you immunity to 2 hits of damage. Cannot occur more often than once every 12 seconds. Every 12 seconds, which is very often. I am using 4-piece mount bank, so I am getting a lot of shields, and it works like that if you have shields, then first 2 enemy hits doesn't deal any damage to you. It doesn't matter if it is from primary attack or from skill or something like that, you are immune to 2 hits. We can say every 12 seconds, which is a huge boost to your survivability. So these pants are great for PvP, and definitely if you have the piece of gear like that, use it. This make a difference. Another important piece of puzzle are your magic attributes from your warband, and I noticed that it's overlooked from some players. So let's look on my magic attributes, which increased my survivability. First of all, I am using the protector, which increased my block chance by 5%. And now let's look on remnant bonuses, and they are important. So the first one reduces damage taken by 1% for every enemy within 6 yards, taking up to a maximum of 3%. So it's reduced my damage by 1%. If there's 3 enemies within 6 yards, it's by 3%. Now the second one reduces damage taken by 3% while there is only 1 enemy within 6 yards. So what does it mean? The combination of these two means that if there is 1 enemy within 6 yards, my damage is reduced in overall by 4%, which is great. And if there is more than 1 enemy, then it's lower, but it's good bonus. And here the another magic effects is Gain a shield for 6 seconds that absorbs 6% of your total life when you and nearby allies are about to take damage from the same source. Cannot occur more often than once every 60 seconds. So it's another shield, and as you remember, I have pants when my shield is active. I am taking no damage from first 2 hits, so this helps again. And the last one, it's increase my life by 6.5% and my size by 15%. So as you can see, these magic attributes from your warband are important too, so don't overlook them and look at to your warband what you are using, and if it is needed then adjust it for better survivability. We have to look on my paragon too, because a lot of players are using the gladiator, but I prefer brawler, and let's look why. So let's start with the first skill. Every enemy within 5 yards reduces the damage you take by 2%, stacking up to 4 times. Enemy players provides 2 stacks, but the upper limit is unchanged. So this means that when I am facing 2 players within 5 yards, my damage is reduced by, or damage what I am taken from them is reduced by 8%, which is nice. But let's look on the second skill. While heavy armor is active, you can move through enemies freely, and enemies within 5 yards of you have their damage reduced by 5%. So we have 8% damage reduction, and my enemies now have their damage reduced by 5%. So in overall it's 13% damage reduction for me. Let's look on the other skill. When you are attacked 5 or more times within 3 seconds, you gain an absorb shield equal to 15% of your maximum life. And for every enemy within 5 yards, the shield increased its size, okay? And it cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds. So if you remember, we have pants. When my shield is active, the first 2 hits deal no damage to me every 12 seconds. So this again helps increase my survivability. So let's look on the other skill. Your size and maximum life increased by 5%. And the last one, the effect of heavy armor increases from 2 to 3%. The effects of rook increases from 5 to 8%. So my size and HP are increased by 8%, and my damage reduction is now increased not by 8%, but with this by 12% in overall, plus these 5%, it's 17%. And if you remember my magic effects from my warband, it could be at peak by 20%. So my damage reduction could be 20%, which is huge, plus shield when 2 first hits doesn't deal any damage to me every 12 seconds. And this is the reason why I am surviving the CC from the enemies and I am not insta dead. So maybe if you are dying a lot, maybe you don't use, or you doesn't using these combination, because it's help a lot. Another thing where could be the difference between us are the deeds of valor, because I am playing every Rite of Exile, but unfortunately usually low resonance players are not allowed to play in Rite of Exile, so they can't receive the max badges, because max badge is 12%, which increase your life by 12% and your damage versus players by 12%. So in overall I have increased my life by 36% from badges and 36% damage from badges versus players. But if you are not participating in Rite of Exile, then you can receive at max 8% badges. So it means that the difference between us will be 12%. I will have 12% more HP versus someone who has only 8% badges, and I will deal 12% more damage in comparison to him. So this makes difference too. Another important piece of puzzles is your curse properties, because if you look at the description, when your summons, or I am using 6 pieces vexed, and when your summons enter the battlefield, you let out a roar dealing 130% of your damage to nearby enemies. Additionally, and this is the important thing, the roar drives your summons into a furious rage, increasing their movement and attack speed by 24% for 6 seconds. Effect cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds, which is a huge buff to my light striders, and my light striders are my main source of damage, and it's increased their attack speed and movement speed by 24%, which is a lot. So it's another important piece of puzzle. Here is the third comment. That is so true. Over the last 20 years I have played a lot of games and tried different builds. Not just in the Diablo series, I am talking about the RPG MMO genre, and I figured out that the build can be the best, but if it doesn't fit your own playstyle, it will not perform good for you personally, or at least it won't feel good playing it. I mean, yes, there are OP builds from time to time, they will work because of them being OP, but in any other case, it has to fit your personal playstyle. And guys, this is so true, because Crusader in general is considered as a defensive class or a supportive class, and I am playing Crusader differently. I am playing in as a DPS, and I fully understand that it couldn't fit to everyone's playstyle, and I am not saying that my build is the best and you should play it. Definitely not. But what I want to is to show you that Crusader can be played as a DPS, and if you are interested into DPS Crusader, you can take inspiration from me. So the best way is to develop your own playstyle, which will perfectly fit you. But this build or Crusader as a DPS can work very well. But it's important, as you saw from my magics, from my warband attributes and so on, that there's a lot of small puzzles, but together they make a whole picture. But if you are missing some of these puzzles, then it doesn't work as a whole picture. So I think that these are the main reasons why this build doesn't work for some of you, because it's not fit your playstyle, because you are more defensive oriented or supportive, or you are missing some of these small puzzles, or maybe both. So in overall, Crusader can be played as a good DPS class, but everything has to be built around the DPS.